Good evening, everyone. Our last talk for today and for the mini-conf, I believe, is talking about Debusine by Enrico and Carlos.
Hello and good evening. We are presenting something that doesn't exist yet but will, and it's as such, it will be the least vaporware talk ever given about something that is still in early development, because we have deadlines with dates. It will be fun. This is a work. This is mainly the people working on this. So it's me and Carlos giving the talk, but the work is actually from a lot more people and more coming. At Freexian, we've been writing a system for scheduling and distribution of Debian-related tasks to worker machines. It's very generic, but it's Debian-specific. And so you got Debian-related tasks, that whatever, run lintian, autopkgtest, whatever, and the system to distribute these workloads to worker machines, in some kind of distributed computing situation, collect results and then present them or make choices based on them. The aim is for it to be specific for Debian, but generic enough to handle most of Debian's needs. At the beginning, it could be an easy way for any developer to build or run autopkgtest or whatever on some package one was working on without needing to set up an autopkgtest system. Eventually, maybe that gives us bike sheds, but it's not a milestone yet. Maybe this can grow, hopefully it can grow to be a viable potential replacement with improvement for existing infrastructure. We'll try to see if we can get there. And the idea is also to have something that allows developers to run, like, what if I rebuild Debian with this switch, like for not having those pesky C things, and see what happens, and it distributes stuff to the cloud when the cloud is cheap and whatever, so the workers could be something available for more creative project-wide experiments that could be at the hand of everyone. This is being implemented with Python and Django, supporting Bullseye and Bookworm, with the idea of targeting potentially a Debian.org machine. Server worker architecture, everything is on Salsa, including development and design discussions. It's GPL-free, there's no CLA. The Freexian has no intention of keeping ownership of the code. If this eventually works for Debian, Debian can fork it, take it. Debian can take it, Freexian can fork it if we want it different or whatever. And it has proper unit tests, good coverage, integration tests, so whatever we're doing, we're trying to do it in a way that it's sustainable, decent development. So it started as something useful internally in Freexian, but then a lot of it looks like it could be useful in Debian in various ways. So we got funding to develop something concrete, and then at some point, as early as possible, make it accessible to Debian people. And then if it's being used, then yes, we were right, and it's nice. And then Debian has new stuff to build on. Sovereign Tech Fund is funding us for 3 people full-time for a year. We have a fixed set of milestones, each with dates. And yes, there's nothing hard-coded in the governance to keep people in Debian away. It's quite the opposite. We encourage and already reached out to people of specific teams to get involved in design. So Sovereign Tech Fund supports the development, improvement, and maintenance of open digital infrastructure with the goal to sustainably strengthen the open source ecosystem, focuses on security, resilience, technological diversity, and the people behind the code. And yes, they're funding partners on that. So we release when it's ready, and we know when it's going to be ready. So the rest of the talk is about what is going to happen and when it's going to happen. How about that? Milestone 1, deadline, end of December. Allow any developer to immediately run QA analysis on their packaging work without requiring to set up the tools locally. So, single sign-on integration done. We have all the design work done for autopkgtest and lintian, and already implemented autopkgtest and lintian. Carles is going to demo later on. We've already involved teams in the design of that. We need to bring up an instance of Debusine, which is accessible to Debian developers. We've asked DSA if we can get a Debian.org one. If we can't, if they tell us no, then we'll set up a Debian.net one, and we'll see. Yeah, and then, so the whole thing has the concept of an artifact, which is content-addressed storage, say packages or build logs, and then tasks that take artifacts and generate new artifacts. That's kind of the general nomenclature here. And then milestone 2, end of April. Having collections of artifacts representing distributions, for example, and workflows that can operate, like, say, scripts or logic that so you can say when I point at the package and I run a set of QA stuff on it in parallel and then get results, that would be a workflow. Or a new library is uploaded in Debian and something starts testing the auto package testing its reverse dependencies. The idea is to have an engine that can like compose tasks and automate them in this sort of ways. So other things, so the milestone 2 is about taking the building blocks of tasks on milestone 1 and automating them, or making automatic organization on them, or running them on the distribution. So, for example, we can have a collection of all the Debian packages in unstable, automatically run lintian on all of them every once in a while, and redo lintian.debian.org or something. It's an example of building blocks, put them together, script some, organize of the results. Ambitious, I don't know, we'll see, but that's a general idea. End of June, try to get to feature parity with build daemons, which, why not? We need it in Freexian internally, and, well, maybe it can be useful for Debian. Also with the idea of reaching out to see how the build daemon infrastructure works now, pain points, can we do something equal, can we do something better, and then, well, if it works and it can be useful, let's see if that is of help to Debian in general. And then move on to try and address use cases for the security team, which again, Freexian has LTS work, so why not? And then maybe this is also useful for Debian in general. So see with the Debian security team what works, what doesn't in the current infrastructure. Is there something we can do better? Is that something that they would like to be different? And then implement private workspaces for artifacts that are not public until published to a public workspace, so we can handle embargoed security updates. do auto-package test of reverse dependencies after the build of a proposed security package, so we can evaluate the impact. debdiff manually validate that this could be a security update and so on. Package signing for secure boot with hardware security models. That's a bit involved here. Annotations for tracking what happened during work on a security update, and so on, and possibly decide that there are classes of workers that can build security packages and workers that cannot, depending on how trusted they are, or prioritize, so, well, a security build will have priority over something else. And then, last milestone, end of 2024, go to the cloud, so allow to have worker machines that scale with the cloud and storage that scales with the cloud, to then allow developers to run experiments, rebuild the archive with this other compiler, with this option, with this environment, and so on. And the idea is to support multiple cloud providers from the start, so this should never be tied to a specific cloud provider. And live demo.
Ooh. Yeah, I'll do the demo. I was thinking how I end up with a live demo. I think I said to Enrico 2 days ago, do you dare doing a live demo? And then my name appeared in the slide and said, yes, you do. Yeah, so let's see how we go here. There are quite a lot of concepts happening at my live demo. Do not type things here live. I have a bash script here. So, do I know how to do the lines? No, not now. I have 2 demos, actually. One is running a lintian task, and the other one is running or executing autopkgtest task. This one is a lintian one. This is not how it will be used at the end. This is some plumbing commands that we are using. We are implementing something that is a bit easy, and you don't need to do different steps to get there. But in the line that I am here, in the line that I'm here, what's happening here is it downloads the hello package, which is a package that exists, hello world. Downloads a source, downloads the binary, and creates a source artifact. So what will happen here is that using the Debusine command in one of the 2 servers that I'm using as a demo, and the name is Exoscale, it creates an artifact of this type, Debian source package, and it will upload the DSC, this, and then this would output a YAML file, and in a very easy way, and I know that the YAML parsers, just to keep it simple, and I could do other things, but I'm getting the artifact ID into this source package ID. Similar idea here, I upload the deb file into new artifact, binary package, upload the deb file as I said, and I get the artifact ID, save it here. And then it will print, hopefully, 2 numbers. And then here, and again, this is to avoid me typing or doing other things, it will execute a Debusine server, blah, 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 create a request of this type, lintian, and as a standard input of this command, the Debusine create a request, it will write this small YAML, which basically it says, source artifact could be a list of binary artifacts, fail and severity pedantic, and it should fail. And then I have a set of 3 artifacts as an output. So task, I don't want to be too detailed, but I just like these things. So there's a task that has an input that is an artifact and a name and a data, and then the output, in this case, will be 3 artifacts that will contain files, will contain data in them. We'll see this in a moment. So I execute the lintian one, downloads, and here it created, well, it says it created this. This is the output of the create artifact. So if I go to this instance, we have this thing. I should have been faster. With autopkgtest, we'll see this running and then it's finished. So we have a lintian is failure because there's some pedantic things, pedantic tags. And here we can see that this is a task data that I uploaded. And we have these different outputs. So if I press to this one, for example, we have the lintian output as it came from lintian with a set of flags. We have the analysis, which is the lintian output parsed as JSON, and Firefox is showing this nicely. I can do the raw one. And here, as this output artifact, I have a summary of which tags were found, which lintian version were used, and a counter, so it's easier to use. This is for the lintian job. There's also some logs here because I like logs and seeing what's happening with the systems. I didn't show. I could do something like, well, I can do something like send an email, send a notification when it finishes, or a few different more things, but that's not for today. So this is the lintian, and I'll do, but the easier way, well, I can delete all these things, the hellos and the test log. So I can do a similar thing with the autopkgtest, but before I'll show what it's doing. Same thing, hello, hello, upload, upload, and then here, in this case, the type is an autopkgtest. The input, same as before, this is the architecture, this is the distribution that this will be running. We didn't say this, but I'll just say that we have a server. Well, this is my server with Debusine server, and then we have a worker. This worker is in the same server in this case, but it could be a set or pool of workers that connect, and then there's a scheduler that sends the task to one of the workers and would be remote. So if I do Debusine create autopkgtest, and this time I'm a bit more ready here. So there's nothing. I do this, it does the download and create the task. This, we have this that is running. We haven't implemented the notifications into this web thing. The web thing can do more things. You can create artifacts here, copy paste, and other list workspaces and these things. It should not take long. And one thing that should be done before the end of December, while I'm waiting, is to have a nicer way to visualize the lintian and autopkgtest outputs. So now this is the raw data, because I'm visualizing the output artifacts with the files and the data, but we'll have a way that you can browse the tags and have an easier way to read them. Still running. Usually when I'm not watching, it seems faster. If you have, there's a question already, and completed. Do you mind if I finish this? Sorry. I'll lose track of my mind, and I'm almost at the end. So this is a success. And if I go to, this is the input data. In this case, I have the, in the output artifact, I have the architecture, the command line that was executed, the autopkgtest summary parsed here, and then the files that the autopkgtest created in an easy way. And I think that this was the two things that we thought of demoing today. Is there anything else, Enrico?
Well, good.
You have thought? Yeah, okay.
Then I can continue. Can you put back the slides?
Slides. I closed the slides, but yes. And you will find your way,
Cool.
I guess. Thank you.
Basically, tasks are like wrappers for Debian operations that will run them in any remote worker from a worker pool and come back with results that are also parsed and ready for displaying and so on. And so the first building block is artifacts and tasks to work on artifacts, and then we'll build on top of that to have some automation and orchestration, pipelining and so on, and to have presentation pages. This was very much plumbing. Ideally, you should be able to point at your DSC locally and say, give me autopkgtest, or give me QA on it, and get it. So it's on Salsa. There's documentation automatically rendered. You can watch the project or specific discussions and chip in if you want. And as soon as there's going to be the DD accessible instance, you can also try it out. And we plan to make all stages of development readily available as soon as they are vaguely usable. It will be vaguely usable at the beginning, but of course. And yeah, Q&A.
Thank you. I had one comment on the log of autopkgtest. Very recently, in the latest upload of Debusine, Antonio actually fixed, well, he implemented a parser for the autopkgtest log. Actually, it was contributed. I forgot who did that on IRC, but it's there, so take that as an example, I would say, for inspiration, at least. Another thing that I just noticed is you use the Podman virtual back whatever the thing is called in autopkgtest. Do you have the others available as well, and how far do you go? All of them? Or?
Yeah, there's a long-running internal discussion on how to do this right. Because indeed there's all the backends of autopkgtest that need to be available because different things need to be tested on different backends, and we'll need to have some serious containment or virtualization to actually build packages submitted by whoever. So yes, it's in the pipeline. You can imagine it's a fun discussion to have. It's public if you want to go and savor it.
It's the issue 186, and it's the only one that I remember from the number 186 is this one.
I have two questions. The first is, this looks great. I think I want to use this thing, even though it doesn't exist yet. How excellent is that? Also, I might want to run my own instance. Now, my experience with this kind of, internet server software that has been developed in the modern world is that it often turns out to be extremely difficult. Do you plan to make that a relatively straightforward thing? Obviously,
yes.
The pony I want is, can I apt install it? But
yes.
Yes, I can have my pony.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So
Excellent.
we are targeting Debian-org machines. So the deployment of this for Debian-org machines, if we get one, is to have a package have our package added to the meta package for that machine. All the dependencies are in Debian. Package installs itself. It kind of works. Run a script to set up the database or something.
Perfect. My second question. So you might have noticed that I'm not very keen on source packages. Can I feed this thing Git somehow?
I hope.
Can you repeat?
I want to feed it source code in Git form. Can I do that? I mean, it's got artifacts. I don't want to like tar up my Git repository or send it Git bundles or something. There must be a better way.
I want to answer the first question that you had. I mean, add one more thing. Sorry, I was late. We use Salsa for development, and there's an apply repository that gets generated on each merge on the devel. So if you check we invite you or anyone, there was in documentation, which is the first page, there's the URL on this Salsa repo, and you can then do an apt-get update. It's signed with a key that it says how to download the public key, and then you can do apt-get install, and it works.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was good to have Salsa in the pipeline. The second question, I think Enrico knows.
Yeah,
better.
and in order to point at Git, I guess we'll see about how to make porcelain for that. But I really like the idea of pointing at the directory I'm working on and say, run autopkgtest on this. We'll see how to make that work. But I personally can't be bothered to set up autopkgtest to run on my laptop. But I would like to run autopkgtest, and pushing stuff, making frivolous commits on Salsa to run it on the CI seems awful of me, and so maybe with this, why not? Colin?
It's also to respond to Ian on setup. I had a go on Thursday at can I set myself up a development environment, expecting this to take like 2 hours and much swearing, and it took me about 10 minutes, and then I had a working Debusine.
Simon, okay. I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah, just a couple of things. So the buildy, as you say, is terrible in very many ways.
I didn't say that.
Okay. Well, probably should have done. But the one thing it has gained over 20 years is all the corner cases. There are an astonishing number of ways in which your builds can go wrong or not get uploaded or get half finished, or the machine got turned off, or it got done in 2 places, and there's just all that stuff. So if you're not already talking to buildy people about all the ways it goes wrong, that would be good. Although it's very easy to make a thing that like should work, right, but doesn't actually.
Oh, yes. We are quite aware.
Which we've done many times. The other thing I was going to mention is there was a similar project years ago which produced PyBuilder, which is not a terrible design, but kind of lost interest. I don't know if there's any useful pieces in there for what you are doing, but if you've never ever looked, that might be worth a look. But
PyBuilder.
It might still be sat in Debian because nobody's thrown it away yet.
So, kind of an opposite of what Enrico said about I can't be bothered to set up autopkgtest locally. Is it possible to replicate something pretty close to the environment of the workers locally, where you can get a shell and poke at it if your package is failing in weird ways? So, for example, the Debian buildds at the moment, they have specific kernels set up to harden them against attacks and things like that, which means that if your package is trying to do clever things with containers, that will often just fail. So you can have tests that pass on your laptop, upload, oh no, it failed on the build D because it's not allowed to do the thing it does. So I was wondering, can you replicate something closer to the worker environment locally where you can get at it in a way that's easier than what we now have with build Ds?
I think that's a very legitimate use case, and especially if we move into buildy territory, that will need to be in the setup of a worker, and the workers should be easy to set up. So in theory, it should come for very cheap on top of that. Currently, the milestones are all about running workers on pools to have snappy computation stuff and having pools contributed also by cloud for less trusted kind of workers, so to have bandwidth mostly. There's like it's kind of nice. The issue has popped up about, yeah, okay, well, you made a really nice wrapper for this. Can I just run it on my machine? It may be that this will be some opportunity issue or open an issue coming up. Well, I mean, mostly we are focusing on the milestones because at least this we want to get done, but then opportunity arises.
I wanted to try to answer Jan's second questions. We obviously are interested in convincing Debian that it will be a useful infrastructure. So our first aim is to support what Debian is currently using, which includes source packages as DSC file and everything. But much like everybody else, I would like to be able to work with Git and tag something and get everything done from there. So we're also trying to be forward-looking when we develop this to make it easy to swap out some parts with something newer. And I don't know exactly what it looks like. For instance, when we designed what we call the ontology for what is a new upload in terms of artifact representation, it can be a changes file, but we have already a field to support something else that changes file. So possibly an artifact which has only information embedding data from which Git repository we have to look for, which commit, and that kind of stuff. So there's no code, but there's room for that kind of extension. And as he said, we have priorities now because we are funded, but we gladly review external submissions to add new features on top of what we already built. So if you want to try it out, you're welcome.
Also, partly answering Simon, the build environment that your package gets built in will be an artifact in the system, so you can download the tarball or VM image or whatever that's doing your build and use that locally. Configuration that you desire for your weird build and your weird environment when we get there.
I have a couple of points. The first is more of an observation / thing to be aware of. If you're looking at replacing something like WannaBuild, there can be surprising consumers of the output in ways that you might not think of. So, for example, the Haskell team have a tool that scrapes the statistics output from WannaBuild to go and figure out what to bin MMU every time they upload something to the world.
Of course.
Either you need to teach the tool this new format, which means you need to understand Haskell because that's what it's written in, or you need to replicate that output. So there are some dependencies outside just the core Debian ecosystem that you need to perhaps be aware of there. The second one, perhaps one you might dislike me for asking, we've killed off K3BSD, but Herd lives on and Herd AMD64 seems to be on the way. If you want to replace Build D, how dependent on Linux technologies are you for the workers themselves? Is it abstracted enough that you could spin it up on a different OS entirely?
I mean, the worker itself is Python. Then it will run command lines.
So it's not specifically tied to, say, LXC or Podman or Docker? It's just
no, and then the specific task implementations may end up or not, depending on how they end up being containerized. But there's nothing that would prevent a worker to say, well, hey, I'm on Herd, let's do this differently. And maybe some kind of work services are not supported on Herd, but those that need to be supported are. Like, we're not tying the basic technology, the basic structure is as generic as it comes. Like, it's task distributed to machines and some logic to schedule them. Then it's just a simple matter of programming to get the worker to work where it should work.
All right, I have a question then. It's about the interface. So I often end up doing Debian things at times where I'm not supposed to. So, for example, I can upload a package and then go to the park and I want to check out the current states, and that means I do it by my phone, right? So are you planning to support mobile view on the web interfaces, or is that already a thing? Are you doing tests?
So there's nothing that says that we shouldn't, and we've already built, we decided to go on Bootstrap, which tends to have basic reactive stuff. It may not be the primary things we check when we try to display something, and there may be outputs that are extremely data heavy and may need a bit of work to be fit in a computer in a phone screen. So, but I don't see why not. And there's on the other side of the coin of what I just said is that if you make a jet engine interface that can only be displayed on a monitor this wide, you're probably not making the most usable interface ever. So, but yeah, we are still very much at the plumbing stage.
Yeah, I don't mean to sound like I'm pushing requirements and
stuff. No,
but
well, you can certainly push requirements by filing issues.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah. $10 minutes, or